Ever dreamed of building your own empire? Of turning a wild idea into a thriving business? Then you need to learn from the best. Chris Sacca, the legendary Silicon Valley investor and entrepreneur, has a wealth of wisdom to share. Today, we'll crack the code on Chris Sacca's secrets to becoming a successful entrepreneur. From his early days at Google to his Midas touch as an investor, Chris has seen it all. He's backed game changers like Uber, Twitter, and Instagram. So, what makes him tick? What are the key principles he lives by? Buckle up, aspiring moguls, because this is your masterclass.
In the spring of 2000, I was way over levered into these two stocks. In a matter of a few days, I found myself going from $12 million to the good to $4 million to the bad. So I was 25 years old, I owed $4 million. I didn't have anything to show for it. I didn't have a house or a boat or a plane or anything I could sell to pay it off. I owed it. And I came from a middle-class background. Neither of my parents had ever made more than 100 grand in a year, and I was just stuck. And I had to make some choices then about whether I was gonna quit and or try to declare bankruptcy, or whether I'd try and fight it out. And it happened just as I was graduating law school, actually. And so I said, well, I'm gonna try and fight this out, and I'll take a sellout job as a corporate lawyer out at Fenwick and West, and I'll try and grind this out. And so during the day, I would do corporate law stuff at a tech firm, and at night, I would do pretty much anything that somebody would pay me to do, short of giving blood or massages.
Did you use like Craigslist for this?
I did go on Craigslist. I was writing contracts and business plans and renaming companies. There's a thing called Elance out there. There's now like Odesk and Rent-A-Coder and stuff, but Elance was the first of those markets, and I was the first lawyer on Elance. And so I was writing terms and conditions for websites, some of which turned out to be adult websites, but they paid cash. And so I even did a voiceover for a book once. Yeah, who knew? But I actually screamed for a few hours to make my voice super raspy. That was what they were looking for in the character. So, but I just did anything I could to try and pay off this debt. Mm-hmm. And it took me from then till basically the Google IPO, to selling another company in the Google IPO before I got back to zero of net worth. And I'll tell you, no matter how early you are in your career, the richest you will ever feel is when you owe $0 to anybody. That's the very first time in your life when you've got choices. You could go join the Peace Corps, you could go travel the world, you could do anything. I actually celebrated by throwing a BYOB party at my house. Like, I'm not going in the red to treat all you guys. So. But that was a real pivotal moment in my life. I'll tell you, I never really considered any other option. I never considered moving back with my parents to Buffalo, New York. I never considered declaring bankruptcy. I just kind of always knew I would fight my way out of it. And I think that's something that, for those of you who are founders, I'd encourage, not everybody's a founder. It's easy to kind of sign the paperwork, but some of you just aren't founders. And there's a time when you have to admit that to yourself, that it's cool to have a startup, but you may not be a founder. You may not be the kind of unstable, mentally askew person with a slightly manic depressive side who knows in the face of insurmountable odds that you're going to win. And I don't mean as convinced that you can sell people and convince people of that. I mean, you know in your bones that you're going to make it out. And I think that's something that was a little different about me. It was like in that hole, as advisors were saying, look, just go BK, and 7 years from now you can walk away from it. I just knew I would fight my way out of it. And I didn't have to convince myself or anybody else.
When I was in college, I didn't want to come out as a progressive because I would eliminate like half of my future employers in Washington, D.C. I was like, look, I got to look neutral here so I can get a job someday. I found progressively, and some of these lessons were foisted upon me. I mean, I mentioned earlier, so not to repeat a story, but it's at Google. I am working on this team and this wireless stuff. It was an incredible amount of responsibility. Larry Page had given me billions of dollars to go take on the wireless carriers. And I was in over my head. I didn't have a background on this stuff, and I was learning fast, and I was pretty good at it. But one day a decision came up, and I didn't know what to do. And my work partner wrote in the notes, Chris doesn't know what to do about this. And at Google, the notes are published to the whole company. So I see the notes get published, and I'm like, what'd you do? You just ruined my career. Everyone's gonna know, like, I'm smoking mirrors. And I thought it was over for me. And then the next meeting, some new engineers who didn't report to me and Larry Page himself showed up with ideas on what to do to solve this problem. And I was like, oh my God, I just became more powerful. I now have influence. I have more bodies working for me who don't even report to me. And it was, I wish I could say I was like, it was an enlightened choice I'd made. It was totally foisted upon me and I was angry about it, but it worked. And so along the way, I realized that the candor, the authenticity, the vulnerability is what actually attracts the other people to you. It's the insecurity roots you in this place of showing you're impervious, that you've got all the answers. But what that does is it renders everyone around you helpless. They're just like, I'm not valued here, right? And so when you start to admit, like, I don't know what I'm doing, I need some help, then people start attracting you and working with you. I have a principle that I guide my life by, and I try and teach this to our entrepreneurs, called bold humility. There are all these business books that say, like, hey, be humble, be humble, be humble. But humility is not a natural state for a kick-ass human being, right? Like, if you're here, you probably kick a lot of ass at something. You're probably the best at something. You have ambition, you're a risk taker, you have learned to hack, you're a good talker, you have, through the gift of gab, wound your way into an amazing situation. You hustle, hustle, hustle. And I feel like it's unnatural to apologize for that. But where we get into trouble is when we feel like we have to extend that to the shit we don't know. And we have to feel like we've got it all covered. And so I think I have had such a great, like, I don't know if I would have learned this authenticity if I didn't have Twitter and the replies being like, that means a lot to me, go for it, you know? And that's why I kind of live a lot of my life in public, as I feel I draw a lot of strength and reassurance from the public being like, look, that moment of failure meant a lot to me and I identify with it. Some of you aren't founders and you should admit that to yourselves. So it's become very fashionable to start something. It's amazing, you know, when Justin Timberlake plays somebody in a movie about a startup, that's awesome. There are lots of people making a ton of money and on magazine covers, but this is a very special, different journey that is not actually suited to everybody. You have to be a little fucked up. You have to be a little weird, a little crazy, a little obsessive. You probably have some personal issues that make you different. Like, you have some demons a little bit. You may have trouble relating to other human beings from time to time. Like, you don't accept failure very well. Maybe you go off a little bit. Maybe you struggle a little bit with manic depression, etc. Like, if none of those things sound familiar to you, you should probably quit right now. But some of you should be employees. Some of you should be partners. Some of you should be employee number one at a startup. And I think right now, there are founders and then there are team members. And in an era where it's been so easy to get capital, I just think the posers should step aside.
Before we continue with our discussion, are you ready to turn your business dreams into reality? If yes, introducing our groundbreaking online courses in entrepreneurship. Cash Flow Academia, the ultimate guide to building a successful business from the ground up. From developing a rock-solid business plan to mastering digital marketing strategies, our comprehensive curriculum is crafted to meet the demands of today's dynamic market. Get ready to unleash your creativity, harness your potential, and take your business to new heights. Enroll now and embark on a journey of entrepreneurship that will redefine your future. Visit our website or click the link below to secure your spot.
I guess I just think our industry is blind to the impact, to how I think we have written human beings, our emotion, our purpose, our community, our collective humanity, our empathy have all been written out of the algorithm. And I think that's gonna cost us in the long run. It will not only help the rise of despotic leaders, but I think it's what's actually severing our connections between each other. I think technology has evolved a lot faster than our primal brains have. I think we've lost track of how important presence is. Constant notifications and buzzing, and what the impact that's actually having on our health and our lives. And so I think if we don't wake up very soon to the absolute dearth of humanity within what we're building, and have that baked right into our mission, our values, our purpose, our hiring, who we brought into these companies, then we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose not just on the investor side, not just on the product side, but the monoculture will eat itself, and our entire planet will suffer as a result.
There you have it, aspiring entrepreneurs, Chris Sacca's secrets to success. Remember, these are just guiding principles. The most important ingredient is your own unique vision, passion, and drive. So, what are you waiting for? Go out there, find your problem, build your team, embrace the journey, and start creating your own empire. Thank you for watching. If you found this video a helpful one, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more video updates.